Hello, welcome to Recapping with Delora
and Ashley.
Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at reCapping Podcast.
Also, comment, rate, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all the things.
We would love to hear your ratings of the movies and shows we review.
Email us your audio file to recappingpodcast@gmail.com and we will play it during the show.
Or DM us on Instagram and we will post and read it on air.
Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you. Ashley.
Hey girl, hey.
By now, when this comes out, we're going to know the outcome of the VPA. So I'm really excited about that.
Let's hope we got that dub, guys. We'll definitely hop on social and say thank you for the nomination or thank you for this win. So follow us at reCappin Podcast
on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. All right, so I am super excited. We are recapping one of the summer hits. Although we're no longer in summer, it's okay. We can hold on to that sunlight a little bit longer. We are recapping Vacation Friends. This is a Hulu original. It is an hour and 43 minutes long. It is a buddy comedy, rated R, and it premiered August 27th, 2021. Here's a quick summary. Marcus and Emily enjoy an unusual week without inhibitions when they meet new friends on vacation. But they are horrified when Ron and Kayla show up uninvited to their wedding. Dun, dun, dun! This movie stars Lil Rel as Marcus Parker, John Cena as Ron. Really quick, with Lil Rel, I want to give him a quick shout out. Dude had 7 projects in 2021, and they were all successful. Here's the rundown. Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yep.
Bad Trip.
Yep.
Fatherhood. Please check out that recap.
Yep.
Space Jam, A New Legacy. Please check out that recap.
Yep.
Free Guy, which only came out in theaters, so I have not seen that yet. And Vacation Friends. So
doing his
we're
thing.
Gonna do a slow clap for Lil Rel, okay? Way to go, sir.
Way to give that man his flowers, Delora.
Always. We have Yvonne Orji as Emily. We know her best from Insecure. Are you ready for that new season?
Absolutely. We've actually been requested to do a microdose each week for that, so we'll keep that under consideration.
Request.
Yes.
Okay. Recap Nation. We have Meredith Hagner as Kayla. She's a working actress. Apparently she was in Younger. I don't remember her character though. And she was also most notably in Search Party. But the most notable thing, oh, you did watch that. That's right.
That was one of my hidden gems. Yep.
That's right. And most notable outside of her acting career, she's married to Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn's son, Wyatt, who's the not Captain America. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Amazing. Because I just learned that after watching the movie. I was like, oh, that's her husband? Okay.
Right. We have Robert Wisdom as Harold Conway. We have King Batch as Gabe. We have the legendary Lynn Whitfield as Suzanne Conway. And we have the legendary Anna Maria Horsford as Nancy, who is Lil Rel's mom. And those are the people I'm highlighting today. So for the director, we have Clay Tarver. He's done quite a bit of work with Silicon Valley on HBO. So ratings for this movie, 60% by critics on Rotten Tomatoes and 52% from the audience. Okay. And Google users give this film 73%. What's your grade, Ashley?
All All right. I gave it a C plus. You know, it's in that resort to love kind of category for me in terms of enjoyability. I cannot say that I loved the film overall, but I feel like it's worth a Saturday afternoon or lazy Sunday streaming watch. I want to support Yvonne and Little Rail. So, you know, the first time I watched it, I can't say I really had any laugh out loud moments, but the second time I watched it, I had a couple. So it may be better after, it may grow on you after a couple watches.
That is my exact story, Ashley. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I gave this film a D plus. I did get the laughs. I just felt like I'll give it a C minus D plus. That's what I'll give it, because it wasn't completely everything. It was definitely, you know, the typical odd couple dynamic, right? Mm-hmm. I put in my notes, this movie gave me The Hangover meets Wedding Crasher vibes.
I definitely got the Wedding Crasher vibes, no doubt.
And I also want to highlight two things. So in the news, it's worth noting that Vacation Friends have landed a sequel called Honeymoon Friends.
Oh, God.
From 20th Century Studios. That's according to Variety from September 1st. And then Deadline was the first actually to report it, but their headline states, Vacation Friends sequel in works after Hulu movie lands biggest 3-day weekend opening for an original in streamers history.
Good for y'all.
Again, Lil Rel out here with these successful projects, okay? The Oscar nominated projects and everything. So shout out to Judas and the Black Messiah. My other impressions about this movie before I go into the spoiler alert is I am not a fan of John Cena in the sense of I feel like the studios keep trying to make him a thing, and I feel like it's taken a very long time, but I feel like they might have hit their sweet spot with him with this type of role and his role as Peacekeeper in Suicide Squad. So
I have not watched Suicide Squad, but he's played a couple of these roles where he's like goofy. And I enjoy him being goofy because I just watched Fast 9 and it was hard for me to take him seriously because I'm so used to him playing goofy now.
I haven't seen Fast 9, but okay.
Yeah.
You know me, he's no Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Okay?
Nobody is Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
So for me, I just felt like, why are you stepping on my man's toes? Okay?
There's room for everybody, Delora. There's room.
The abundance there, right?
Absolutely.
All right, Ashley. Any other first impressions before we go into our spoiler alert?
I'm ready to get into the good.
Spoiler alert for this film, The Mexican Vacation, okay? We meet our main couple. We meet Marcus and Emily. They are professionals. They're kind of like type A. And Marcus is over preparing for his surprise engagement to his woman, okay? I like to think of the quote that says, when man plans, God laughs, okay? Because not even 5 minutes into this vacation, it goes straight to hell. And was this flooded hotel suite an omen for what they were about to get into, Ashley?
Possibly, but my thought was, how much did that shit cost? Like, that was some damage, right? Damage. And what type of terrible customer service were they experiencing at that hotel?
The fact that they couldn't even find a replacement.
There is no way. I cannot imagine a 5-star hotel that would not be able to figure out an accommodation, because they would know that their reviews on Yelp or wherever else would be horrible. On social media, forget Yelp.
Exactly.
On social media would be horrible if something like this happened.
Very true, Ashley. Then enters Ron and Kayla, the free-spirited couple who's staying at the expensive presidential suite. They offered Marcus and Emily a place to stay. I'm laughing because would you have stayed with a couple you had no no prior experience with if you were in the type of pickle that Marcus and Emily were in?
That's a really good question. Possibly depending on if I was drunk, I may have agreed to it initially because I just was like, listen, babe, we gotta find somewhere to lay our heads. We can try it for one night. If this doesn't work out, not to mention they're the ones who ruined their hotel room. So honestly, I may feel like, well, y'all owe me because y'all ruined my experience. And then second, my proposal got ruined because you ain't talking about the fact that Lil Real had to propose out there in the lobby. Because Marilio
did that. Well, yeah, he kept making too many innuendos there, right? It was rude. The whole thing was a sugar honey iced tea show for sure. I have to say though, even with their generosity, I would be so busy trying to determine their intentions. I will say throughout this entire film, they were so hard to read for me. Like, and I'm really good at discernment. It is a gift of the spirit I got, but I just never,
what's funny?
Can put my finger on it.
I put in my notes, they lived up to some real stereotypes of white people because they was doing the fucking most. Like, that's all I could think was like, I don't know if I want any parts in y'all shenanigans because y'all do too much for me.
Oh my God. I love it. Oh my God. So we find out though, in this expensive, mind you, this is like primo hotel. They're saying in the presidential suite that these are working people. Ron is a park ranger, former Green Beret. And Kayla, I don't even know if she's a nurse. She just works at an office.
She's an assistant. She works in a doctor's office. She's not a nurse.
That has trouble with the feds, I might add, okay? So, Ashley, when you go on vacation, do you ball out of control?
Hell no. Hell no. Hell no. Hell no. I'm not spending my last dime to live it up in the presidential suite of a 5-star hotel. I am frugal. I try to find discounts and deals. I do think it would be nice to have one vacation where I kind of go the extra mile and, spend a little bit more money, but I'm economical and they were, again, doing the most. They were very reckless in all aspects of their life, it seemed like. So no, I do not follow that formula, Delora. Do you?
Oh my gosh. No, not balling out of control like that. That was doing a lot. Now, what I won't do is stay in a crappy hotel. I need to stay at a place. My rule for staying in a hotel is I need to feel comfortable walking around without my socks on. Okay. And if you can't pass that test, we're not staying there. We're not staying there. So
that's a good rule. I should say the same. Like, I definitely am bougie in the sense of I like my accommodations. Like, I want a nice shower. I want a nice bathroom. I want a certain level of comfort in my bed. So, but again, that's bare basics versus I'm not paying for the presidential suite for a week.
I have never stayed in a presidential suite. Maybe I need to put that on my wish list.
Yeah.
So, okay, Marcus and Emily agreed to stay with Ron and Kayla. And one of the things that we find out in Marcus type A-ness is that he scheduled everything to a T. I do have to ask you another question, Ashley. Are you a plan the whole trip type of person, or are you a floater?
I'm a floater, and you wouldn't necessarily think that based on my personality at times, but I don't enjoy the planning process, but I do enjoy going on vacation with people who like to plan, if that makes sense. Like, I would enjoy going on vacation with Marcus and him having everything laid out, and I can just kind of go with the flow, and we can make some adjustments along the way versus I find it stressful. That's why I don't plan birthday parties for myself. I don't like, because it's me, it adds a level of stress to something that's supposed to be fun and relaxing.
And you don't get a chance to enjoy yourself for your party.
Exactly, because you're the one who's going around trying to make sure everybody's having a good time and X, Y, and Z. But I do think that Marcus may have been a little too much, right? He was the polar opposite of them. And so he was a little too much.
And for me, I'm a hybrid, honestly. Like, I like to relax on my vacation, but I also like to learn about the area that I'm in. Like, we went to Mexico and we were on the beach, and it was like, okay, this is fine, but what else is here? Like, I mean, all the accommodations were so American or English centric that I was like, well, what about
local
where
life?
we are? Yes. Yeah. So we ended up going to Chichen Itza, and we toured those pyramids, and it was gorgeous. It's one of the world wonders. Highly recommend. So I'm that type of person, right? It's like I can chill at the pool, but then I need to know where I'm at. You know what I mean?
Because everything is so... I mean, that was my biggest gripe when I went and stayed at all inclusive in Jamaica, was I felt like this is it. Like, you know, we're getting such a contained Americanized experience, or at least a westernized experience, because it was more than just Americans there. So we went off resort a couple of times just to go to Dunn's River Falls and go to a local grocery store and do some things to see some of the local culture. So I agree with you. But again, that was still more impromptu and happened there versus, hey, I have an agenda laid out for this entire trip. Here's what we're doing Monday through Friday. You know what I mean? That's just a little bit different. You know what I mean? I think you can still have fun and have some activities you do without being planned from sun up to sundown.
So I bring up the planning the trip because Marcus planned on going on this exclusive boat tour that was a packed, looked like ferry boat. You know what I mean? And Ron had the great idea of renting a sailboat. Don't you hate when you're on vacation, all of the marketing advertisement is so bombastic, right? It's like, come eat at the best place in Vegas. Like every buffet in Vegas is like premium, top of the line steak. I'm like, everybody got the best steak. A buffet got the best steak and the crab legs. Okay.
You got to be like Diddy. You got to, if you don't love you, who will? If you don't promote the shit out of you, who will, Delora?
But it's so hard to sift through. So they get on the sailboat and Marcus crashed it. And we learned very quickly, Ashley, that Ron and Kayla are some sunny disposition folks, okay? Like,
they're nuts.
They thought it was fantastic that he crashed the boat and they were airlifted to safety.
That's nuts. And that's also a little bit of privilege, because y'all version of fun is life and death. Let's do the most. That was awesome. What's next? Like, there was a little bit of privilege in that. But I have to say, I don't know if I would have made that boat, because they had drugged them with cocaine and they margaritas. And I tell you, as soon as I came down from my high, I would have beat somebody's ass. Like, ain't no way. You just got to be out here drugging me.
To people like that. That was so rude. What we would have viewed as tragedy because of the insurance and the damage for a whole entire sailboat went into a whole montage of them having this epic Mexican adventure. Like, they were doing everything from eating tacos in an auto shop to
my stomach
participating in wrestling matches. That part made me laugh the second time when John Cena was like, anybody can do this. How much does it cost to go in? And of course, as the audience, we're expecting him to go in. He puts a little
because he's the wrestler. Exactly.
We find out towards the end of this epic adventure, Marcus voluntarily takes drug at this point, and they don't want the vacation to end. And the conversation kind of goes towards the fact that they got to go home and get married, but Emily's family isn't really rocking with Marcus. He has been married previously, which her father does not like. Her father demeans what he does for a living when he's a whole entire construction company owner. Like, and Ron and Kayla have this great idea that they should get married in some type of indigenous ceremony on a cliff. They all decide to jump off this cliff, balls and all, because that's going to be significant later. And they have a very crazy, blurry night, Ashley. What did you think about that night in particular?
I thought that they went very hard. During this entire
That's an understatement.
Yeah, during this entire week, I was wondering, like, is this still my idea of a fun vacation? Because, like, binge drinking was cool in my 20s. I'm in my 30s. That shit don't hit the same. Like,
I'm tired.
Yeah, I'm gonna need some down days. I'm gonna need, me and alcohol, we're not cool like we used to be. So I felt like, I felt like they was going real, real hard, particularly at their age. But this blurry, who was having sex with who moment,
girl.
It was interesting. I was just hoping that nobody was everybody consented. I'll say that. I hope nobody was taken advantage of, was one of my thoughts. So what about you?
Well said. I just was feeling some kind of way. I just knew that this was going to pop up some way or somehow again, because they always do.
Formula.
Have you ever made vacation friends, Ashley?
No, not like this. I mean, I can make friends out of strangers. You know this about me. Yes. But I don't make those type of significant formed relationships where I spend my entire vacation with people I don't know and have a lot of activities with those people that I don't know.
Like, we might see each other at dinner or breakfast.
Exactly. I may see you in passing, or, maybe we'll start following each other on social or something like that, but not to the extent where it's like every day of my trip, I'm spending time with people I just met. I have never done that. Have you?
No. I can talk to anyone as well. There, we met people from actual Ohio and Midwest America. And apparently that's the time of year we go. And like the Europeans like to go in the spring or something like that. So, the fact that there's travel trends and patterns for people in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
And it's
one thing that I have done though is, have you ever gone on a group trip with people that you weren't necessarily super cool with before and you get cooler with them afterwards? You know what I mean? It's like you went on a group trip and it wasn't your immediate friend group, but you were with friends of friends. And then you're like, oh, actually, I really, we really clicked or whatever. We're on the same schedule. Let's go to go get breakfast together, whatever.
It was like that when I joined the Urban League here. We went to one of the national conferences in ATL. Shout out to Lauren, shout out to Ashley, shout out to Alex, and all my friends from the Urban League. We all got in a Buick Enclave and had the whole road trip from Cincinnati to Atlanta to go to this conference. And I was able to make real good friends really quick. And I was new to the group and to the city. So it was just great to establish those relationships sooner than later. So definitely experienced that. It's time to go home, Ashley. And Marcus knows something happened that night, but he was trying to get something out of his fiance, Emily, but she didn't show any signs of anything really. But they both agreed that Ron and Kayla were just what happens in Mexico stays in Mexico's kind of friends. Oh my gosh. Have you ever had to shake off some friends before, Ashley?
Oh, if I have, I'm not going to say. I may have in my time, but it's all love. It's all peace and love out here.
They were very hard to shake off, Ashley. Like, that part was actually kind of funny because they were obviously clingy, right?
But they were so genuine. That's one thing I will give them, is that they weren't the type of people that I would meet and be like, well, I don't like you. It's more so y'all do too much for me. We don't necessarily have the same energy, but I did appreciate that they were very genuine in the film.
I'm glad that you say that, because for me, it took way later in this film for me to realize how genuine they were, because I could not put my finger on them and their behavior, because I don't act like that. My mama raised me right. That's all I got to do that. So, wedding festivities, 7 months later, the wedding is in full swing. Marcus Construction Company gifted him with a suit. They make it to the country club, which I will add, I was not impressed by. I'm like, is this supposed to be like rich?
It looked like a lodge.
A cabin. Right. It did not look like a country club. It looked like a lodge. I agree.
It looked like a VFW or something to me. Which could have been, because the father was a vet. So that's no offense, but that's definitely the vibe I got.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ashley, because I felt the same way. During their arrival to the country club, Harold gives Marcus these rings that have been a part of their family for many, many years. You also see very quickly that there's a social economic difference between parents.
Cringy.
It was cringy. He was giving me the vibes of David Allegra's parents in Boomerang. You remember that?
They were way worse though. They went in fucking Marcus's room.
Worse.
Like they were y'all trifling for that. Trifling.
Giving me those vibes.
You know, that's my favorite 90s Black rom-com of all time. Well, really? I take that back. Second. A Low Down Dirty Shame is my favorite. Boomerang is number 2. Take that back.
Oh my goodness. Boomerang is definitely in my top 3, but I don't think it's my number 1. I can't remember my number 1 right now because I've been drinking. Okay. So
she's celebrating, y'all. She's celebrating.
I am celebrating. And to be fair, I have not drank on this podcast for probably a whole month, to be honest. And I'm like, you know what? Let's have fun, Delora. Fun, Delora, for Mexican vacation friends.
Y'all don't know this. Delora is down for the cause, okay? Delora is not a drinker like that, but she will participate. If it's like, hey, we about to go, I'm about to take those shots, Delora's like, fine, cool, let's take these shots. So she's down for the cause every time. Love you for that.
Ashley, for recognizing what I do out here.
You do, because that's beautiful. You know, that's very giving of you to be that understanding of others. We appreciate you.
So, girl, Ron and Kayla crashed their wedding. They literally busting through the gate. And
again, privilege. If that was a Black couple busting into a white wedding, they would have been arrested. Everybody would have looked down to them, not giving them the time of day. Okay. But they did the classic circle swing maneuver, Ashley. That's not scary at all, right? Stalking, the legal version of stalking, I guess. Not really at all.
Pregnant, Ashley. And as we all know, Marcus is suspicious about the events of that final night in Mexico. And he's trying to do some math. And he tries to comfort himself in understanding that, oh no, she has to be about 5 months pregnant, right? Ron and Kayla are able to finesse their way into the hearts of Emily's fathers, a feat that Marcus has not accomplished. And they get the freaking presidential suite. Girl, how would you feel if your father did not give you the best room for your wedding?
That would never happen. Flat out. I wish my father would. I'd be like, y'all ain't staying in this room. Y'all are not, you got me fucked up. Y'all not staying in this room. That was cute. I'd be like, Dad, that was funny. That was cute. Get the fuck out of here. I'm gonna need y'all to go ahead and find y'all way into another room. We will be staying here. Y'all funny.
God, I love it. Oh my God. Yeah, my dad wouldn't do it. If anything, he and my mom would stay there before, putting people that they do not know into the room. Goodness gracious. If I were Emily, I would have felt some kind of way. I'm like, I know you don't like my husband, but damn.
I mean, there's literally is no way. That's when you need to be more assertive, Emily. Why would you not have said something? Said, Dad, this is our wedding. Why are you letting someone stay in a better room than the bride and groom? That does not make any sense in any world. So
agreed. And so this is where it kind of reminded me of like Wedding Crashers, where it's like there's all these activities leading up to the big wedding. So we have the fox hunt, and then we have the golfing outing. Specifically for the fox hunt, you're not going to shoot the fox after all. So Marcus is like, I've been practicing for how long? And we don't even kill the fox. But of course, Ron is his wingman. And because he's a park ranger, he knows about all of this natural, edible things in nature.
Delora, unless I'm dying of starvation, I'm not eating tree moss. That was just ridiculous.
Have you ever been hunting? No, I haven't either.
No.
And I mean, I have people in my, extended family that hunt, and I'm just like, I'm not doing that. But thanks.
I would be David off of Schitt's Creek and be completely traumatized if I went hunting and shot something in the neck and had to watch it bleed to death like that. Like there's just no way. Like obviously I'm a meat eater and I eat animals, but I always say I would be a vegetarian if I had to slaughter them and prepare them myself. I just don't have the heart or the stomach for it. So
not at all.
No,
not at all. Marcus ended up eating the devil's dick and started tripping really hard.
A mushroom. It was a mushroom. She didn't specify that.
Because it's a mushroom with a weird head on it, you know what I mean? It just was hilarious to me. And I'm not gonna lie, this was the first time that I felt that Ron was endearing, because he was like, I didn't tell you to eat it. And he's like, all right, so you're not gonna chip on this by yourself. I'll be with you. And I appreciated that so much. But talk about it in opportune time, because Emily's father was finally going to turn around. Emily was with her father and the rest of the hunting group. And we find out that her father was passing his trauma on to her new husband.
You know what that reminded me of? Crazy Rich Asians. The mama was treated horribly by her mother-in-law. So now you're going to tell this girl she ain't worthy. You know, y'all need to stop this.
Stop the cycle. Stop.
Cycle of abuse.
Be the blessing. Be the one that makes it out, okay? But Ron didn't get a chance to appreciate the amends that Emily's father was trying to put forth, because he was tripping so hard, he called him a clown.
He looked like one. That's what he was saying.
I'm not gonna lie. Once Ron, talked through the whole thing with Emily's father, at the end when Rel was like, I'm in the circus, that had me cracking up too, because he was just so stoned out of his mind. There was a big conversation about best man. So Ron assumed that it was him because based off of the sacred wedding witch back in Mexico, he was his tuku. Technically, Emily's brother Gabe was his best man according to her parents, and we all know that Marcus don't like Gabe because he had previously punched him in the face. And apparently it affected Gabe so much that he literally brought back up this time around with his one guy friend.
Now those scenes are what cracked me up. Like the scenes between the two of them was what got me. Especially at I don't know if it was the rehearsal dinner that just turned into a complete shit show that I'm sure you'll be getting to. That was my big laugh my ass off moment. Their chemistry was hilarious. I loved it.
Yeah. To piss off Gabe, Marcus said that Ron was his best man. So he gave this family heirloom rings to Ron to hold. And Ron said that he would keep it safe. Let's go into this golfing outing. Ron decides to hustle Emily's brother and his friend. So much so that he had a wad of cash on hand, Ashley. This mofo pawned those rings. This is one of the first parts of the movie where I was like outdone. Because I know, again, these people are so hard to read because there's no rhyme or reason to their behavior. I'm such a straight-laced person. Ashley, how did you feel when you found out he pawned those rings? And, as a Black person, let me go ahead and interject this too. When we got stuff that goes back generations, that means a lot. Because guess what? We weren't able to pass along a lot of things.
No.
Something precious like jewelry.
Point taken. Obviously. Point taken for sure. How did I feel? Again, the whiteness of it all. I just did not understand, to your point, this plan, this formula, because there was no conversation or consultation to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Let's put this forth and let's get more after we play this game. He gave no mention of the fact that he was really good at golf. So it just came out of nowhere. You're putting me at risk because not only are these my wedding rings, but again, I just got in good with my fiance's daddy and he has gifted these to me. And if someone comes in and gets, because this is a pawn shop, it's open how many hours of the day somebody could come in and buy them at any point in time. Golf, for those of you who don't play golf, 18 holes of golf takes hours to play. Okay. So at any point in time, those rings could have been lost and sold to somebody else. So it was just more shenanigans. And again, this is why I said, it's not that I didn't like Ron and Kayla in terms of people. I thought they were genuine people, but they just do too much for me. Like, these are the friends who always get you into some shit. And I avoid those people.
So I will say this. So this film looks like it was probably written colorblind, right? And they cast the role the way they cast him, you know, but you can only take colorblind casting so far, especially for Black people watching it, when it comes to like the significance of passing down heirlooms, the significance of, you know, who can really be reckless and who can't be, like, you know what I mean, to your previous point. So this is part of why we recap and have these type of conversations, because I see what they're doing, but sometimes the way Black people may see it is just a little different, because there's no way on this green earth that any of that would fly.
It's absolute and utter foolishness, but we take it because it's a shticky, comedy, ridiculous, over the top film. So we do take it as such. But yeah, we're going to see it through a little bit of a different lens, because never would I ever. Well, let's go to this pawn shop right now. You've lost your mind, and I'm going to need you to go.
Yes, to your point, yes, they were pawned. Ron hustled the brother and his friend out of a whole entire car. And so they had enough money to get those rings back. But this is where it was pissing me off, Ashley. Marcus was so busy trying to tell off Ron that a bird almost pooped on him and the rings fell in the freaking sewer.
Mm-hmm.
What type of skill is it anyway to know when birds are about to poop?
Exactly. Absolutely ridiculous. The shenanigans of it all. But the funniest part of that scene was Little Rel choking out John Cena. Like, in what reality is Little Rel's little ass gonna be choking out John Cena? That was one of the most unbelievable moments of the whole movie.
Because, of course, as you mentioned, Ron is pretty genuine, and you could tell that he was letting Little Rel take his anger out, and that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Ashley, our wedding's a scam. And the reason why I ask this is because in every wedding movie that we've ever seen, couples are always so stressed out to the brink to where it's like, is it even worth it?
No. So again, this is my personal opinion. I just had this conversation with somebody who's helping with her daughter's getting married next year. And y'all have to understand, I am not the type of woman who has always dreamed of a wedding in any capacity. I was someone who watched Runaway Bride back in the day and said, if I ever do it, that's how I want to do it. Me, my man, the minister, nobody else. Let's get her done and let's, move on, because I just don't understand the idea of spending, sometimes 6 figures on a moment in time that you could be investing in your life and in your future. That to me has always seemed so absolutely ridiculous. And then the older we get too, I see the whole business surrounding weddings and this multi-million
fantasy out of it
industry, and just think about
exploitation when it comes to cake and hotels.
The same way I think about funeral expenses now, to be honest with you. The older I get, the more critical I look at that, and I think people are being taken advantage of in their most weak, vulnerable moments
because they don't plan for it. But
so I do think that I do have a little possibly different view. I still understand significance. I still think that people should have a beautiful ceremony if they want to, but I also think that there is a little bit of a racket that goes into the wedding industry. It just is. So I hope that people don't do things and don't make decisions that either make them go broke or that stress them out to the point that the wedding, you're looking more forward to the wedding than you are the marriage. Because at the end of the day, this is just one moment in time. You're committing to this person supposedly forever.
Yes.
So let's not be short-sighted about all the prettiness of having a wedding in a dress and all this cute stuff. That's my spiel. That's all I got.
I gotcha. I do feel like weddings can be a scam. I'm actually happy that this next generation is going to see the value of having an intimate, personal wedding, courtesy of COVID, unfortunately, but there's value to that. I did love my wedding. I had the poofy dress and we had a beautiful ballroom and everything like that. I still would do it again because I did enjoy having people I care about all in the same room. I don't think I've ever had anything like that in my life before. And so to see people like who knew me when I was 8 show up seeing me get married. I remember specifically the Gregory's, they're the parents of my first best friend, Danita, seeing them, and I could barely talk to them without being choked up. And I'm like, why am I so emotionally raw today? Like, I cannot handle what is going on here. I could barely talk to them because I was so moved that they showed up to my wedding. Like, you know what I mean? And they were there to support me, marry my man, you know? So I see it from different angles. It's not really worth having a bunch of people you probably don't know paying for their meals, but if you can do it, but don't do it at a deficit. That's all I gotta say.
Listen, I totally appreciate the open bar weddings I've been to, though. Those be fire.
And plus, my family was so happy, and my beloved grandma, who would have been 92 today.
Oh, happy birthday. Happy heavenly birthday.
She was wheelchair bound, and they were playing music, and she said she wanted to dance. And so we have pictures of her dancing. So there are special moments to be had, but I feel you, Ashley. I feel you. Let's move to the ladies. We found out really quickly that Kay was not fitting in with Emily's family at all, giving advice like kick your man in the balls and eating at Waffle House.
That was the most ratchet suggestion. When she said Waffle House to cater the wedding, I said the ratchetness and audacity, ma'am.
Ooh. First of all, I do enjoy Waffle House. I will say that.
But you would not have had them cater your wedding.
Never.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. I can go to Waffle House at 2 a.m. Sure.
And quiet as it's kept, sometimes the dirtiest, the better.
Oh my God.
One's off the side of the road.
When I was in Atlanta, I was taken to a restaurant that was in the cut, bars on the windows. The food was good, as it should be when you go to a restaurant in the cut. I mean, if it's not good, you don't have why are you in business? Why are you here?
My first grimy Waffle House was on my college campus. Shout out to Bowling Green State University. I was like, do they mop the floors here?
Oh,
but when I tell you, I'm joking, Ashley.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to say is there were moments where they were slipping and sliding because there's hash browns on it.
Oh my God.
If you know, you know. Okay.
Oh my God.
Shout out to everybody. Let me know what you think. Follow us on Instagram.
Oh my God.
Okay.
See, the thing that bothers me only is when I go to a restaurant and it has really nasty bathrooms. I'm like, if your bathrooms ain't clean, your kitchen is probably trifling.
So actually, I'm only talking about Waffle House. I am not talking about any other like Waffle House is that place where it's just like you just let it get away with certain things that you would never anywhere else.
I swear to you, I don't think I've ever eaten Waffle House sober in my life. I swear to you, I do not think I don't think I've ever eaten it sober. Same with Denny's. Like there's just certain restaurants that you cannot pay me to go into if I'm not drunk. Like if it's not a hangover situation, you're not going to catch me in there. That's just me though. Shout out to Waffle House and Denny's. Y'all clearly have a long history. So y'all doing y'all thing.
So Ashley, we make it to the rehearsal dinner, and this is the equivalent of the red wedding in terms of the secondhand embarrassment.
Not the red wedding.
But yes. It was cringy for me though, I'm not gonna lie. Because we have Ron and Kayla take the freaking microphone, and you already know they're gonna say something out the side of their necks, right? They take this long way talking about this baby that at this point Marcus is convinced is his, because they kept saying things along the way saying, you had a lot to do with this and we need to tell you something, right? And of course, let's not forget the blurry imagery that last night in Mexico. In efforts to save face, I want to call it, maybe, Marcus interrupts them in their awful speech. He interrupts them and say, I'm the father of this baby. And he proceeds to go into an awkward explanation on how it happened. And Ron and Kayla, without batting not one eye, corrects him and say, "Oh no, it is my child. When we jumped off that cliff, hitting that water helped my shooters."
Amen.
That in honor of that suggestion, they are going to name the baby Marcus.
Have you ever met a white Marcus?
No.
Me either.
I have not.
Me either. I had to think about that.
Never.
Mm-mm.
Marcus is such a Black boy's name to me from my youth.
Currently. I was like, are there any actors, like white actors named Marcus? Like, is there anybody? I couldn't think of anybody. So he will be unique.
Absolutely. But they didn't bat an eye, which I appreciate, because I mean, we're people and we love our names. At the same time, his construction crew shows up. Who invited them? Ron. The father is confronting Marcus. Marcus tells him he lost the rings. The brother shows up. And to your point, I was cracking up when Marcus punched him in the face again.
Yes.
The way he fell out, I was done.
Yeah.
I was done, Ashley. What do you think about this fiasco?
Pivotal rom-com point of, ultimate break in everything that has been happening and transpired is kind of coming to a head, right? All of this was eventually going to come out anyway. So it was funny. I enjoyed the sequence. To your point, I was definitely cringing when Marcus, I'm that baby's daddy moment that he unfortunately
y'all told me to take responsibility for my actions.
Unfortunately embarrassed himself in front of everybody. But just formula.
His fiance, because he wasn't the one that slept with Kayla. It was Emily.
And that's one thing that if the shoe was on the other foot, I thought was kind of messed up, because she tried to play like she didn't remember what happened, but she definitely remembered, and she just let that just kind of go away and never addressed it.
Giving me real Molly vibes.
It was shady. In my opinion, I was like, if this was the opposite, and if it was a dude lying about something like that, it would be a bigger deal. Only because I feel like it was two women who had sex with each other. It wasn't as big of a deal. But yeah, she swept that under the rug real nice, even when she was being asked about it. So that was shady of her.
And the reason why it was cringy, to my point previous about having everyone I love throughout my life in one room, he was showing his entire ass to everyone they love, including his future father-in-law's business partners.
Yeah.
That was painful. Painful. So Ashley, we make it to the third act and final part of the movie. I like to title this Best Friends. After all of that, out of all the entire fight that her own father got into, Emily's father, we make it to the morning of the wedding, and Marcus is not convinced whether or not they're going to get married or not. And
shit, I wouldn't be either.
Same. In comes his construction employees and his father-in-law, and because he's such an army man, they're like, well, you throw a punch, you got to buy him a beer. We've been drinking all night, and they told me everything about you. And I did enjoy this part where you really got to know Marcus' heart about how his first wife left him. She wasn't about cutting back on their expenses. And during the recession, he paid for his employees the whole time, and they're loyal, and he's a good guy. I was like, oh, this is beautiful.
His company brought in $35 million. I mean, come on.
In Chicago. He's a construction company owner in Chicago. That is not a small feat at all. That was beautiful to see. And then, of course, the father says something along the lines of, oh, good thing you invited them. And he's like, but I didn't. So you realize it was Ron. And then flash forward to Emily getting ready, looking like Billie Holiday. What did you think about her dress?
I liked it. This was a dress that I liked. I can't say love, but I liked.
Yes, I liked the beading, and I loved the big flower. It could also be an ode to the first Black Academy Award winner. She had that big flower in her hair. Hattie.
Oh, yeah.
She gets a letter from Kayla and a gift that said the reason why they were so clingy. We find out that Ron's best friend had died, and he had been pretty hollow, and he's been re-energized with the friendship that they had with Marcus and Emily. And they dug through the sewer and got those beloved rings. This is where I thought it was interesting. We spend the rest of the movie with Marcus and Emily trying to track down Ron and Kayla. And of course, they incorporate or the classic circle sweep maneuver to find them at Atlanta's Waffle House. If y'all don't know this, Atlanta is littered with Waffle Houses.
Every corner.
So that had me cracking up in itself. They find them, they convince them that they're sorry. They decide to get married, Ron and Kayla, which is funny because one of the funnier lines that Kayla says, she's like, oh yeah, we're not married on paper, but spiritually we've been married 5 to 6 times. But because of this baby, they decided to do the right thing, quote unquote, and get married. And we end this movie at their wedding with their newborn Marcus, along with Marcus' family and Emily's family as witnesses. They all jump off a cliff and live happily ever after as best friends. And apparently coming back as honeymoon friends. Ashley, what are your final thoughts on this film?
I feel like they missed a potential joke in making the baby not look completely white. So that there was always a question of whether or not that really was John Cena's baby. But otherwise, again, it was a fun ride, especially more so the second time. Interesting that they're getting a sequel. I'll be curious to see what they do with it. I'll definitely watch the sequel as well. Johnny, this is for you because you love this movie. So I'm glad we got a chance to recap it. Thank you so much just for being a friend to the pod, one of our day one listeners. But yeah, that's really it. It was a fun ride. I recommend everybody, if you just want some entertainment for the afternoon or whatever, stream this on Hulu. What about you?
I appreciate the little bit of heart that they were able to give this movie towards the end. Again, Ron and Kayla were something else. I don't know if I would be able to be friends with them, but like you mentioned, the second viewing was so much better than the first. And honestly, if it wasn't for the podcast, I don't know if I would have given it a second watch. So I'm glad I did.
Yep.
And again, shout out to Lil Rel and his marvelous year of 2021. And even John Cena, because like I said, I was pretty resistant towards him for many years. Especially because I didn't like his relationship with your girl either, the Bella twin.
Nikki.
Nikki. So, but yeah, I'm glad we did this. So if there's nothing else, time for Hidden Gems. Ashley, would you go first?
Yes, thank you so much for that recap, Delora. So for my Hidden Gems for today, I have 2. First one is Fantasy Island on Fox. This was an unexpected love for me. This was a 2021 rebooted series starring Rosalind Sanchez. The season had 8 episodes depicting stories about people who arrive on a luxury island with dreams and desires and depart enlightened and transformed. The individual stories were what really gave this show legs for me, and I'm definitely looking forward to season 2. My second hidden gem is Reminiscence. This was on HBO Max. It's a 2021 film starring Hugh Jackman and Tandy Newton. It took me a while to watch this one. It was a bit longer runtime wise, and I felt like it needed to be, but the premise was interesting. So Hugh Jackman stars as Nick Bannister, a private investigator of the mind who navigates the darkly alluring world of the past by helping his clients access lost memories. Living on the fringes of sunken Miami coast, his life is forever changed as he uncovers a violent conspiracy while trying to solve the mystery behind a client who disappeared. I definitely took that from online, guys. I did not make that up. I thought it was going to be similar to like an Inception when I first was seeing it. And while it fell a bit short for me compared to Inception, especially with like a memorable and debatable ending, I felt like the performances and the potential for it still make it a worthwhile watch. So again, I checked that out on HBO Max. And those are my 2 hidden gems this week. Delora, what about you?
Thank you, Ashley. I have 3 this week. So 2 of them are albums. And the first one isn't really that hidden. It's Montero. Lil Nas X debut album. He's our favorite internet troll. I just love how he just does everything with a smirk on his face. You know what I mean? This album is not bad. I feel like he started making music just because he could. And I didn't know what his direction was because obviously his first hit, Old Town Road, is a country song. But since then, he has definitely gone pop, rappy-ish.
Yeah.
So this album is great because it actually has quite a bit of heart. So he has the tongue in cheek, but he also has a lot of songs talking about sleeping on the floor because the plastic isn't blown up anymore. That's specifically from the song Tales of Dominica. The other song that I really love, $sign Slime featuring Meg Thee Stallion. I absolutely love her verse in that song. He has a song with Elton John and Scoop featuring Doja Cat. Super good. And y'all, the video for That's What I Want, it seems like it's a lot because all the previews to it just shows him making out with a guy in a locker room. But that video was really good to the point where I felt like, am I tearing up? Highly recommend checking that out. My second album I want to talk about today is another debut album for the great artist Yebba. The name of this album is called Dawn. I found out recently that that title is named after her late mother, who tragically died of suicide. And she dedicated this album to her. Yebba is a wonder vocally. She is so good. My favorite songs from this album would be Louis Bag featuring Cinemo. I also love Paranoia Purple, Boomerang, and my absolute favorite is October Sky, which I know is a difficult song because she talks a lot about her mom in that one, and it is hauntingly beautiful. Highly recommend those two albums. Definitely worth a listen. And my final hidden gem this week, it's a little creepy because we're in fall, and for some people, this means Halloween is literally around the corner. So this movie is called Inheritance. It came out in 2020. It is currently available on HBO. That's where I saw it. The premise is a patriarch of wealthy and powerful family suddenly passes away, leaving his wife and daughter with a shocking secret inheritance that threatens to unravel and destroy their lives. This film stars Lily Collins. You know her from Emily in Paris. Season 2 is coming out later on this year. And yes, please check out part 1 and 2 on that. Simon Pegg, you know him from the zombie movies, Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, that came out in 2004, or Hot Buzz or Fuzz. Forgive me. Chase Crawford and Patrick Warburton as the ruthless father. I mean, he always plays a doofus a la Emperor's New Groove as Kronk, but he was pretty intense in this role. And let me tell you, if I were her, I would feel some kind of way about this inheritance because her brother didn't get it. So it's creepy because it deals with someone being taken against their will for years. And that's a scary thought to me. So it was intriguing and worth a watch. So that's all I have for Hidden Gems this week, Ashley.
All right. Well, guys, please stay tuned. We will drop another new episode on Thursday discussing hot topics and headlines. In the meantime, be blessed. Have a great one. We'll see ya.
See ya. Bye.